I do all kinds of work. It's very interesting because at the moment we are following the EU delegation meetings. So it is political work, it is economic work, it is cultural, scientific, but mainly I'm a consul. I do consular work, I have clients every day. I do issue passports, we do have conversations about the citizenship, about how to collect the necessary documentation to register marriage, birth, how to travel around in Europe, what kind of documentation you need. We also get clients with all other different inquiries about their legal affairs, about their inheritance matters, and it's very interesting because you, through the discussion, through the finding out of solutions, you get to know the stories, you get to know the people, and it's very personal and it's very rewarding when you can help, and in most of the cases our embassy can help. And it's very nice also to cooperate with Honorary Consuls that do assist us and are a big help at the moment. Our first priority at the embassy, as I mentioned already in many interviews, is a double taxation agreement, because we find, and I just read an article actually yesterday through Twitter, that it is the export that helps Slovenia in the situation of crisis, and that improves the situation, and the percentage of the GDP goes up due to the exports, and we are aware that the economic diplomacy is very important, and that if between the countries there is a burden of double taxes, it's very negative, it's not a good environment for business, and that's why we are putting all our efforts to activate the economic cooperation. And we established a business club in that regard, and we also motivate companies to come further to also distant markets that are healthy, that are a good stepping point into the region here, which is very rich and rich markets. Like if you just compare the numbers, in Slovenia we are 2 million people, in Australia it's more than 20 million people, but in Indonesia, just neighboring state, there is 200 million people. So there are big opportunities in this area for our companies, and we trust we can do much more than we did in the past. If we go back to the consular work, and it's a very good question, because it's quite a confusion, and it's a lot of questions in this regard, because Slovenian citizenship is very important. It's a step back to Slovenia for the Slovenians that live here, and maybe with the negative feelings they left Slovenia, and some they didn't want to establish Slovenian citizenship at the beginning, but now it's very important because they give opportunities to their children to return back, to study their country, to study their roots. But also if we compare the conditions in Australia, like their children, when they are grown up and would like to study, they have to pay for studies, and they get a debt on that. But if they would get Slovenian citizenship, in Slovenia study is for free, so it's much easier and favorable conditions. And if you get a Slovenian citizenship, you become a member, a citizen of the European Union, and the doors are open through the whole Europe to discover a rich culture of Europe, and to also not just to discover the culture, to get rich experience when you are living there and see how companies operate, how the system operates, because there are different legal systems in Europe. But if I return to the basic question, what are the requirements for the Slovenian citizenship, like in a simple question, what kind of papers you need? It's very simple. There are different situations when you are requesting citizenship. You might have both parents of Slovenian origin, then it's very easy. You just prove that with a paper. So you do bring certificate, birth certificate of yours. Then you bring a proof that your parents are Slovenians. If that documentation is already documented, I can check it in the register. So if I check in the register, I can check whether your parents are already Slovenians. And if they are Slovenians and were born in Slovenia, have all documentation already registered in Slovenian electronic register, then you don't need to bring additional papers for that because we already have them in Slovenia. So you just bring certificate. If the certificate is of a foreign country, usually it is, so of Australia, like birth certificate, it needs a postal stamp, which proves that this birth certificate is originally authentically Australian. And then on that postal stamp you need to get the translation, so authorized Slovenian translation, because the language that our official institutions in Slovenia use is Slovenian. That's why it has to be translated. It does cause a bit of costs, but we use as official language in Slovenia Slovenian language. That's why it has to be translated properly. And besides that documentation, you have to deliver it to the embassy, and we send it back to Slovenia, to the relevant administrative unit, which is the closest to the closest relatives that ever lived of your family in Slovenia, because they would have the documentation of your parents, of their parents at that administrative unit, and it's easier to process the application. And there might be also many cases, and there are, that there is just one parent of Slovenian origin. So in that case, you prove that this parent is of Slovenian origin, you bring his birth certificate or citizenship. If he already registered citizenship, you can just bring the proof that he already registered citizenship, so this is the certificate of citizenship. And you can also just to make sure that the other parent is of foreign origin, you can make a copy of his passport, and you bring that documentation, and we send it to the relevant administrative unit. But the hardest case might be when, for example, parents, that one is of Slovenian origin and the other is not, forget about these procedures, didn't do it by the age of 36, and for example a child is now 37 years old, he's not eligible anymore to this simple procedure of registration of Slovenian citizenship, so he needs to go through a bit simpler procedure of naturalization, which is simpler for those that have relatives of Slovenian origin, and this is the second generation. This is the Article 13 naturalization, which means that he has to prove that he has second generation parents and relatives of Slovenian origin, so grandfather and grandmother. He proves that with the documentation, like mentioned before. This is birth certificate, marriage certificate, so that both parents are married and that they are really his parents, and he proves that documentation. We send it to Slovenia. Beside that, it's a very important requirement that he proves that he was active in a Slovenian club or association for 5 years. So I stress and emphasize on this point that it's very important to be active in Slovenian clubs and associations. If you're aware of this fact that you would like to obtain Slovenian citizenship through naturalization. So there are different requirements than in the past, so a lot of people doesn't know about this condition, because before it was just the embassy that was issuing opinion whether they would know and that certain person was active in this area, was active in the club, and now it's the activity in the club that has to be proved. That's a very good question, because we have now 4 honorary consuls in Australia and 1 in New Zealand, and actually people can contact honorary consuls, but it's very important to know that honorary consuls do not have the access into the register. In the register, the embassy can check whether the parents or grandparents already did register their Slovenian citizenship. So if a client, a person would call embassy, he would get more direct and quicker information about how to proceed with his citizenship application. So it's very good they contact embassy directly. I'm very glad that we have a big assistance at our embassy. They are a great help, and they were very active already before they were appointed. I can tell that I'm very glad. First, we got dairy medicine in Melbourne. We've got Anthony Tomazin in Sydney. So these are 2 very important centers of Slovenian community. Melbourne, according to certain Australian statistics, has 37% of Slovenians living there, and Sydney, so New South Wales area, which is covered by Honorary Consul Anthony Tomazin from Sydney, a businessman, has 32% of Slovenian population and community living there. And for Sydney, I might say it's very important because Anthony Tomazin is a businessman. He's got companies in Slovenia and in Australia, and he registered also business clubs. So he would really gather the economic activity under his cover, which is very important for all the priorities that I have emphasized, and it helps us with the double taxation agreement, which we don't have. Because it's important to prove that we are active, that there is an interest for cooperation in Slovenia, that there is an interest also for investments. And this is some kind of giving us a higher weight on the argumentation towards the Australian side why such a necessity to have a double taxation agreement. And what is also very important, that we have honorary consuls also into 2 parts whenever we had consular activities. In the area of Brisbane, there is Nevenka Gulc-Clark in Caloundra, because there is a new migration. Whenever I come to have consular hours, there is a lot of young people being there. A lot of new migrants come to that area. And also in Adelaide, it's just the same situation. Whenever I speak to young people, they are living whether in Brisbane or in Adelaide, because it's, I believe, connected also to the way that Australia is having this migration policy and issuing visas for work. So they have 457 visa, which is a working visa for Australia, and they do issue it in a certain parts where there is a requirement for work. And these are the areas exactly, specifically, that new migrants are coming. The function of honorary consul is changing, and it's not the same all the time, and it's not the same in all countries. So Slovenia and many European countries have honorary consuls that really do not have many responsibilities in the sense that they would issue passports, they would issue visas, but they are quite limited in that regard as consuls. They are not like professional consuls of a certain state. So they cannot do the variety of procedures that we do at the embassy as consuls, and mainly their call is to speak with people, to be first contact point, to explain procedures, to provide them with the necessary documentation and application forms, to be very helpful with translations, because a lot of the time there is a problem of understanding still Slovenian language when you get legal papers from Slovenia. So it's very important, and like in the case of embassy, I can tell that we devote like 70% of our time explaining what are the procedures in Slovenia, inheritance procedures, explaining the papers that people receive from Slovenia, translating them, and also explaining about the procedures for passport, explaining the procedures for citizenship, and explaining all the variety of other procedures that people might have, because in a shorter sense, it's the embassy that is a longer hand of the administrative unit in Slovenia, and we do a variety of work. It's the expectation that honorary consuls would, for example, verify the signature on certain legal papers, which is not anymore the case. It was the case because our honorary consul general in Sydney, Alfred Brežnik, had that responsibility and had that power to authorize the signature, because he was honorary consul in special time when Slovenia was born as a country, and he's got special powers in that regard as well, and people were used to come to his place, chat with him, get authorization of signature. He was also collecting consular taxes, so the new honorary consuls are not enabled to collect any consular taxes, do not authorize signatures, so they really basically don't have any legal authority. I have to emphasize not just what they can't do, but also what they can do, because there is a great dimension of their activity that of course varies from honorary consul to honorary consul regarding the possibilities he has, the background he has, the activities he does, but they have great responsibilities and possibilities and challenges to enhance economic cooperation, cultural cooperation, scientific cooperation, and to discover possibilities how to do events in a way to best promote our country, to best enhance tourism, to best present our values, to best present our potentials in the country, our knowledge, to present our people with the best qualities, and to best also cooperate with Slovenian community, and to best present Slovenian community in a foreign country with their best qualities, because this is very important. This gives a picture and an image of Slovenia back home. So they have a great duty and responsibility actually in this case, how to make Slovenia recognizable, how to make Slovenia a good image, and how to best actually promote Slovenia, whatever we do back in Slovenia, because we always depend on a good knowledge of foreigners knowing Slovenia, and also we depend on a good picture and potentials that Slovenia has back home, so that we can best cooperate with foreign countries. I have to tell that our honorary consuls were very active even when the procedures were not completely finished. So they already have taken activities, and I believe all honorary consuls now are able to receive people, and they were always open for telephone discussion. They were always giving advice already, because people don't care, you know, if you are person, and if you're an honorary consul or a candidate for an honorary consul and you would get a question, of course you would try to help, and they already did that, all of them. And now we are very much cooperating also in this other field. When they organize consular hours, they collect interest for applications for passports, and they tell the embassy whenever they would have 10 to 15 applicants that we organize consular hours at their location. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to already officially open and make a ceremony and promotional event for the opening of the consulate in Melbourne. We have 3 other consulates to open in Australia and 1 in New Zealand. And we have also officially to open the business club. So these are many important and high-level events that we want to do. That's why we didn't hurry up to do them now when we don't have the ambassador. So we want to do them when the time will be appropriate to do them on the best possible level, on a high level, with a good event, with a good promotional event. Because if you already do something like an official ceremony, if you invite people, it's very good that you do it properly on a high level with a good promotional event beside. I'm very proud and very glad that we managed finally, because we were a long time already discussing it, working on it, preparing for it, and actually it was a seminar in Ljubljana on how to do business with Australia. We invited Slovenian companies to present them how to do business in Australia. This seminar on the 24th of November was a turning point, because we wanted to have a business club registered and give the invitations to the companies, to the Slovenian companies first, to be part and to be members in the Slovenian Business Club. So the official name is Slovenian Australian Chamber of Commerce, because it is actually in Australia, business clubs are not named business clubs, but it is more normal and more to the local customs that you name it Chamber of Commerce. So that's why in Australia it has, according to the local customs, the name Slovenian Australian Chamber of Commerce. And we already established a web page. We have to thank Nevenka Golc-Clark, who has this knowledge, that people who would be interested can already look at the web page of the Slovenian Australian Chamber of Commerce, read the statute about the chamber, and consider whether they would apply, because there is also an application form. So companies are very warmly welcome to consider this very good opportunity, because Slovenian Australian Chamber of Commerce offers a lot of advice on the basis of the knowledge that as the one that will be leading this business club, Anthony Tomazin, Honorary Consul from Sydney, has from his experience within his companies that he runs in Slovenia and in Australia. And also he offers his premises of the consulate and of his company in Sydney, which is well positioned and located in the center of Sydney in Burwood. So he offers his facilities, conference rooms, telefaxes, telephone communication systems to all the companies that would need a conference room in Sydney, which is a big business center, a good location for meetings, and a good center to do business also in the region, like I mentioned, in the Asia-Pacific region. So it's very good that you have that in mind, that certain doors that are difficult at the beginning are here open, and that this Chamber of Commerce will be a rich basis of the knowledge how to do business in this area, because companies that will operate in this Chamber of Commerce will each of them have a very specific knowledge about how to do business here. It's very important because it gathers different companies, like I mentioned, with different experience, and it keeps the record who is where and what they do, and it will organize the events, which are promotional events for the promotion of certain businesses, which will do also events for the promotion of investment to Slovenia. I believe the next step must be to do a promotional event like we did it in Slovenia, how to do business with Australia, to do such an event also in Australia, how to do business with Slovenia for the Australian companies, because there is an interest for having business and for entering Slovenian and other regional markets from the Australian companies. I can just name very big one like Specsavers. They already expressed the interest. It's very public. They discuss about it. They do a serious research. They have a serious purpose to come to our region, and it's very important to know that there will be a lot of experience, knowledge, a lot of everyday knowing of the culture from both sides, which is also very important when you do business. And this all knowledge will be gathered together, and there will be events. Like our idea was to do events on all locations where honorary consuls are. So to make it, of course, specifically for the time that would be certain things going on. Like now, we didn't catch up with the Brisbane G20 meeting, but it would be a nice event to do the conference beside that. And in the future we will plan such events according to the life of Australia, to the breathing of the Australian economic community. Yes, we are thinking in that direction, that it would be very good. We are in the initial stages still to do the association of students, academics and scientists here in Australia. We have already a devoted person in that area that would be ready to do this job. That's why I count we have good possibilities to do that seriously and to implement this idea. And it is an idea to join them together with the Chamber of Commerce that we established, because it's very good that they communicate. If there would be events in each location where honorary consuls would be, it's very good to join them together, because there is a huge need for the exchange of information between business and science, and it would be a very practical opportunity also for students that study in a certain location to explore possibilities within the companies that are interested for this cooperation on the relations Slovenia-Australia, for their possibilities practically to have a job during their studies and to learn something, because in Australia it's very respected, back in Slovenia as well, but more in Australia I see the difference that practical knowledge of a young candidate for a job is much more counted than just diplomas and whatever studies you can present. So it's very important that those that study do get experience as soon as possible if they want to get a good job very early in their career. We have very interesting challenges and events ahead of us. I can tell you that, for example, the first event that will be in the cultural area is the EU Film Festival, which already goes on. Was already presented in Sydney area and now is going on in Canberra. Unfortunately, this year we didn't have a Slovenian film presented, but we have much greater opportunity, because a Slovenian film festival, Isola Cinema, offered to be offered cooperation to the embassy, and they will host the winner of the EU Film Award. So the winner was already chosen from the School for Film in Sydney, AFTRS, and the winner will travel to Slovenia and will present the short film that was getting the award on that festival. Will present actually, she's a woman of Polish origin, Malina, and she will present to the Slovenian audience, and she will have the interaction with Slovenian artists in the area of film, and she will be also having the opportunity, and we are trying our best at the embassy to contact her directly to the directors that already have established contacts and communication with the Polish artists, which is very unique because we have such a director, Mitja Okoran, that was filming his letters to St. Nikolai in co-production with Polish artists, and she's looking forward for the cooperation in that area, and we're very glad. I come from Gorinska. I was born in Sevca, which is a very small village. It's completely different lifestyle than here, but I'm very proud because I do got respect and love for nature from that village. I do respect life and the need to produce something. I have a veggie garden actually here in Australia because it grew with me back home, and our neighbors here in Australia are Australians, and they don't have such a habit, or they don't have such a custom, and they really appreciate it when you do something on your own, and when you are aware of the importance of the nature, of sustainability of the nature, of taking care about how you live and the lifestyle you have. And then later on I was married and now our family lives very close to the airport, actually between two very interesting castles, Castle Sturmol and Castle Burdo. They are both used for the protocolar reasons, and I am very close to Castle Sturmol, which is very much promoted as an authentic castle and is open to the public now. So if you're interested to have something very romantic, and I always say that Slovenia is the only country in the world that has word love in its name, and that you have to have a special reason to visit Slovenia. It's not just an ordinary one, it's a very romantic one, and Castle Sturmol offers such possibilities for romantic experience because they have those nice places, those traditional things, and very exotic ones because they have also a crocodile. Miss Hribar that lived in the castle loved crocodile, and she lived with him and had it as a pet, which is very exotic for the time being, and it's something very special about that castle, yes. Like I mentioned, I grew up in a village. I was spending my life a lot in a forest, and I do miss a bit pine forests because the forest here is different. It's not so thick. It doesn't smell so like in Slovenia, because especially in Canberra where I live, it's no humidity, and I guess humidity gives the smell. And I miss that a bit, yes, because I like being in nature, jogging, cycling, and it's different doing that here. I love the nature here, but it's different. And if I would say I miss something, I would miss pine forest. Oh, a variety of things. Actually, it was my dream to come and work in Australia, not just to visit Australia as a tourist. And I really love the practicalities that in Australia I can see. People are very practical. They don't care about details. You can just come and enter into houses. You will just see they're really practical, how they organize everyday life, how they organize business, how they operate in a business. They are not so strict, and they don't care about quality so much as we do in Slovenia, but they like easy life. They don't complicate for things that are not important in life, and that's what I like. What I'm passionate about? Well, I like different things. I like culture, I like sport. Actually, regarding the dynamics of my family, I'm very passionate about sport. And I'm a great fan of volleyball, I'm a great fan of basketball, I'm proud that we have a professional football player in Australia, Robert Corin, who unfortunately was injured, and I hope he will recover soon and give his best and show his best talent. I would like actually, I know it's a distant country like Australia and Slovenia, there is a big distance, but I can see that we can improve cooperation first in economy, which I think is the most important, and we have to do this bilateral agreement on double taxation. We can improve also in science. Cooperation in science doesn't cost much. It's actually just to motivate the interest of scientists and of students, of professors to do the exchanges, because our people back in Slovenia, our young generation is very much enthusiastic about Australia. It's still like a dream country. I just visited an exhibition in National Archives of Australia. Actually, it's a kind of archives that operates as a museum of the migrants in Australia, which has which is a young country and has a long tradition actually of migration, and very successful one. And the title of that exhibition is A Ticket to Paradise. And I think we still take Australia as a paradise. And people are, according to statistics, also Australians themselves, very satisfied living here. So it's attractive to come to a country where everybody likes lifestyle and the way of living here. And that's why I think it's worth working in this direction. And it's very important that we also enable young people to come on working holiday visa to Australia. This is also the very important area. Why? Because people are then able to do direct contacts, experience life in different countries and bring that good positive experience back to Slovenia, and maybe change a way of thinking, because in Slovenia it's a lot of depression, negative thinking, which is not very healthy, not very good, and not very optimistic and positive for the changes we want to do in our country. So it's very important to bring fresh positive thinking back to our country. And the other area, of course, is culture. We have a lot to show, a lot to offer, and we try with very small, simple steps, and we try to use and to present the artists and use opportunities that are within the lifestyle and within the plans that the EU delegation has, and to invite Slovenian artists, but at the same time we try to just incorporate the artists that have intention as themselves to come here, to present them with an event and to make something out of it. It's very nice to talk and present the activities of the embassy. Thank you very much.